Amit, thanks so much for joining in. Good afternoon, of course. Some of the things are not spelled out in black and white, but does the release last night tell you that the company seems to have moved away from its earlier proposed plan of a buyback onto spending something and spending that money in a different way? And does that raise some bit of question marks about the real intent, so to say?
Yeah, no, so when the stock was at 200 rupees in February, the company announced this buyback because the stock at that time had fallen more than 50-60%. So they said that this fall is artificial. Therefore, we'll do this buyback of 1,000 crores. We'll also do a 250 crore dividend, and that this policy has been announced after discussions with our leading investors. And the promoters will also not be participating in the buyback. Therefore, the acceptance ratio for the minority shareholders will be fairly high. This was what was announced in February when the stock was around 200 rupees. And after the announcement, the stock ended up going up to as high as 280 rupees. Because a lot of people took that as a significant positive announcement that the company would be returning so much capital. And now when the stock is close to 40 rupees, the company is saying, what we decided in February, we are not going to do that at all. And not just, it's not just a reduction in the buyback size, it's just indefinitely deferred, So in plain words, it's probably just been cancelled forever. And the reason which management has given is that they want to invest into the ATMs for this Vakrangee Kendras. So that explanation also seems quite absurd when you consider the fact that these Vakrangee Kendras should already been having ATMs. If these Kendras were not having ATMs, then what were they really doing? And 45,000 Kendras, they'll be spending 900 crores on that. They will have the largest ATM network in India, basically. They will have an ATM network which is larger than even the State Bank of India. So there are multiple red flags which should go up after reading what the sudden change of heart that the company has had.
Yeah, well, certainly so. Amit, the other point that some people have pointed out, that if the management is able to point out and spell out new plans about what they want to do, how about answering the questions that the auditors had raised in the past regarding information pertaining to your election books, gold, bullion? All those informations which are more material from a shareholder perspective are not coming out. What's coming out is a change of plan, which in a manner of speaking, as you said, raises some concerns about what the eventual plan was in the first place or what the eventual plan will be from Vakrangee's side.
Yeah, so, even in this press release and the presentation, the company has said that, we had done everything that was required by the auditors. They have not specifically answered the questions that the auditors have raised. So, that seems to be a question that the management is unwilling to answer. The questions on the bullion numbers, on the electoral books, what was that about? What was the red flags that the auditors was talking about? So there has been no information on that side. So even, the other things that you're seeing, the write-off that we are suddenly seeing, there was no indication that there were challenges with collecting receivables till even one and a half quarters back. So till the stock price was up, the companies had a very fantastic business, only talking great things. There were no challenges at all. And once the stock price has crashed, suddenly there seems to be a lot of challenges that the company is facing now.
Hi Amit, good afternoon. Well, the share buyback, which was announced in the month of February, was basically to arrest the fall that one was seeing in the stock price of Vakrangee. And it goes without saying, after the auditors to have resigned, that there have been lapses on the corporate governance front as well. Don't you think there should be any regulatory action now taken? Because in few months you change your capital allocation policy, your auditors have resigned. There are a lot of questions to be answered, and probably I'm sure the shareholders who are stuck in this stock, who bought around the higher levels of 300 or 350 or northwards of that, should be given an answer now.
Yes, so I do think there will be some regulatory action that will happen on the business. Clearly, when a stock falls from upwards of 500 levels to 40 rupees within a few months time frame without there being a real reason as such, on the business side which management has given. And the reasons seem to be, governance related. The regulator typically does start getting into the action. And I'm sure that, over the next few months, we'll probably be hearing about what the regulator is doing in this case. If the regulator is not doing anything, that would be a bit of a challenge. But I do think the regulator at some point will start investigating all that is happening here.
And as a capital allocation plan, Amit, do you feel the current plan, which has been announced by the management, is better than the buyback plan they announced in the month of February?
Well, they haven't really given any good reason why this, plan makes sense. It just seemed to be that they wanted a reason not to go ahead with the buyback, and therefore they have announced a capex plan. At the end of the day, 45,000 ATMs, the country does not need another 45,000 ATMs. ATMs businesses, if you look at the other white label ATMs, the Tata Group companies and the other companies which are there in this space, they're actually struggling with the ATM business. They're losing tons of money. And so the company is saying that, not just are we going to expand in the space, but we are going to expand to such an extent that we are going to be the largest ATM provider, ATM services provider in the entire country. I think that's it seems like a terrible capital allocation decision.
Is there any silver lining, Amit?
It's tough to find anything in the entire press release and the entire announcement that they made.
Yeah, and I was just trying to figure out what is in it for, a minority shareholder who might be stuck here. A bunch of people would have been happy looking at some bit of pullback into that stock, only to find the shocker of a release yesterday, which is, in parts giving a fair bit of explanation, in parts not giving a lot of desired explanation as well. So just trying to see if there's any kind of relief there from a shareholder's perspective. I'm not going to ask you about what to do with the stock. It's a very difficult call to make any which ways. I'm guessing I would know your answer as well. Just one last question. In the past, Amit, whenever the conversations revolved around how robust is the business looking and the fact that it's a it's a business that is dominated by, receivables from the government, there was never a question mark about any kind of bad debts that could come up in a meaningful way. And suddenly we have the management writing off a small but a reasonably large sum in that sense as well. And that's come as out of the blue as well. Did that take you by surprise at all?
No, it did not take me by surprise, because we've studied the business in fair bit of detail. So while everyone was, the market cap was going up to 50,000 crore plus levels, we knew that the overall business was not as solid. We have seen, newspaper reports, articles that have come out from the media, which even significantly doubt the Kendra network, the size of the network that exists. So people who have done the on-ground research have not been able to find the Vakrangee Kendras also. So I would take a lot of the information that the company is disclosing in its financial statements and in other presentations with a pinch of salt.